there, my name is Marley and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing what I watched recently, which is a little series that I've been doing on my channel for a while, like since the beginning of my channel pretty much, where I talk about all the TV shows and movies I've watched recently. However, I think this will be my final episode of doing this on my channel. I'm just kind of not inspired to talk about TV shows and movies as much as I am about books. Yeah, I just don't really feel like filming these videos anymore. Maybe I'll just do like once a year a kind of wrap up of my favorite movies or TV shows. I don't know, but I think this is gonna be my last episode. That being said, let's discuss what I watched in November and December of 2022 and what I would recommend and what I would suggest you don't watch. First of all, let's start out with the movies, and let's start with the worst and go to the best. So I ended up watching The People We Hate at the Wedding. A long title. I believe this was on Amazon Prime, maybe it was Disney Plus. We decided to watch it because it seemed like a fun kind of rom-com movie with quite a few big actors. For example, Kristen Bell's in it, Allison Janney. Who is the guy? Oh, Ben Platt. Like some names I was interested in, right? And it was so bad. Oh, I should also say I got Letterboxd now, so I have the link in the description, so add me on there if you want to like stay up to date on my movie ratings. I think this was one of the first movies I rated on there, and I think I gave it 1 star, can't quite remember. It's about these siblings, and they have this half-sister, older half-sister, and she's very different from them. She lives in the UK because her dad's from there. They have different dads, and she's very posh, she's very successful. When they were young, they really looked up to her, and now these two siblings, Kristen Bell and Ben Platt, like hate her. They're very disconnected and they're very like rude to her. They hate her because they think she acts like she's better than them or something, but really she's like actually a very sweet person, and they are just like literally villains. It was a situation where I just hated the main characters. Like they were so rude and so mean, and not even in like an entertaining way. Like this movie was not very good or entertaining. And yeah, I just hated the characters, so it was really hard to root for them. Even Kristen Bell, who's a pretty likable actress, and I hear she's really nice in person, like terrible character. So yeah, honestly, I would just skip this one. It looked like a movie that would be pretty fun. You'd be attracted to watching it because of the actors in it, but honestly don't. Like it's pretty brutal. Next up, I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that Marvel put out. Now, I just can't rate this very highly, to be honest, just based on what it was. Like it was this little holiday special, kind of silly. I guess I'm glad I watched it. It didn't take too much of my time. Like I think it's an hour, but it's about Guardians of the Galaxy. They are trying to put on a Christmas for Peter, is his name? I'm kind of a fake fan when it comes to Marvel. But yeah, they're trying to put on like a nice Christmas for Peter, and they know that he loves Kevin Bacon. So, and I don't remember the name of the two characters that go on this trip, but they go to kidnap Kevin Bacon because they don't realize it's weird to like give a person as a gift. So it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of like, what? Like it's just kind of very weird. So yeah, I'd probably only recommend it for like diehard Marvel fans that just want like a silly time. And actually I probably wouldn't recommend it now because it's after the holidays, so whatever. Speaking of holiday movies, I watched Falling for Christmas, which was that holiday Christmas movie that Lindsay Lohan was in, and Cord Overstreet from Glee. So I was pretty excited about it to see both of those actors, but I didn't love this. It had some funny moments, but it's about Lindsay Lohan's character who's like this rich girl, never had to work for anything, that whole kind of stereotype, and then she ends up getting in an accident and losing her memory. So then she ends up staying with this nice like dad that owns a small business that's not doing well, and she has to help him with the business, and she's trying to remember who she really is, but in the meantime she falls in love with this family and with this man and his little daughter, and it's very Hallmark. It's very cheesy. You can watch it if that's what you're looking for. It'll definitely scratch that itch, and it has some silly moments with some of the side characters that I enjoyed, but the romance was not giving. And honestly, I really liked Cord Overstreet in Glee. He was Sam, and he was one of my favorites that I had a crush on back then, but he was not giving in this movie. He looked cute, but his acting was off, and like the chemistry between him and Lindsay Lohan was really bad, so didn't love that. I also watched the Selena Gomez documentary, My Mind in Me, and honestly didn't love it. Like it's always kind of interesting to see into a celebrity's world and their life, but it seemed like very poor me. Like I do feel bad for Selena and like her health issues mentally and physically. Like, it sucks, but at the end of the day, like, you are very rich and privileged. And I saw a TikTok that was pointing out that Selena seemed to like to do philanthropy, not really thinking about others, but more of like to do it because it made her feel good rather than to help like other people feel good. I don't know, I've just seen some like criticisms on her and on the movie, and I kind of agree with those opinions. Then I watched See How They Run. This was like a, what I would call like a cozy mystery as a movie. It's really playing off of Agatha Christie. It's based on this play that these people are putting on that is like an Agatha Christie play. And then, oh my gosh, this is a really forgettable movie. I'm not even knowing what to say about the plot because I'm forgetting it. But I think there is basically a murder. And so we're following these two detectives. One is like older, jaded, and then one is like the rookie one played by Saoirse Ronan. She was the best part. Like, she was really charming as she normally is, and she was definitely that comedic relief. I really liked her character, but a lot of the rest of the movie fell kind of flat for me. It was very average, and as I just showcased, like, it's a little bit forgettable. I was excited to watch this because I knew it was, or I thought it was based on the play, which I watched when I was younger, but I'm pretty sure they completely changed the plot of this one. And I kind of would have liked to see that original play adapted because I remember liking that when I was younger, but instead they made this whole other plot that was not related at all. So it was still kind of fun to try and guess, you know, who the murderer was and that typical whodunit kind of thing. But yeah, not a standout or anything. Speaking of not being a standout, we have Knives Out 2, The Glass Onion. I just felt kind of so-so about this. If you guys don't know, you guys probably know the first Knives Out movie. We're following this detective as he takes on this case of this billionaire that was murdered or that died. Now we have, oh, what is his name? Benoit Blanc or something? Making fun of Hercule Poirot or whatever, speaking of Agatha Christie. Anyways, so he's on this new case that follows this friend group, and they all go on this weekend getaway together, and it's supposed to be this like fun murder mystery party for the one guy where they're gonna fake a murder mystery, but then there actually ends up being a real murder on this island, and so our detective is trying to figure it out. It has a star-studded cast again, so that was a plus. Like, I did enjoy seeing these actors, as obviously there's a lot of like good charismatic actors in this movie. I especially like seeing Janelle Monáe and even seeing that girl from Outer Banks in a different role, you know. And Daniel Craig as the detective is actually very good, very charming, very funny. I'm liking what they're doing with his character in this series, but the actual mystery was just sort of like meh. They did have kind of this big plot twist halfway through, similar to Knives Out, where it goes in a different direction than you're thinking, but I still just felt kind of meh about it. The ending, like, it was decent, it was entertaining, but definitely not as good as the first one. Then we have Lady Chatterley's Lover. This is apparently based on a book. I never read it, but I wanted to watch it because it had an actor from Skins that I really like. He plays Cook in Skins. He's the main love interest in this, and then also has the girl from freaking My Policeman. Sorry, I forget the actors' names. Basically, it's about this woman who is in this marriage to this man, and it's not a very passionate one, and he ends up actually getting injured and disabled, so they really are not being physical together, and he's also kind of like controlling and like a bad guy. Anyways, there's this man working on her property, and she ends up connecting with him, and then they start having an affair. They have an intimate relationship, a passionate relationship, and it's just kind of their love story and the scandal of it. And apparently it's known to be a very steamy book. It's a very, very steamy movie, okay? And I watched that with my mom. So that was interesting. Yeah, definitely watch this movie if you want to see some sexy times, because that's what you're gonna get. But you know what? I liked this movie. It was not the best, but it was pretty decent to watch, especially if you are a fan of those actors and if you're just in the mood for a cheesy romance, I guess. Yeah, that's really all to say about that one. Then I watched Paranormal Activity Next of Kin, and I'm not someone who's seen all the Paranormal Activities. I'm not like a huge fan of them, but this one was pretty good. It was about this girl who's finding out like her biological family because she was adopted or something, I guess. So she finds out she's from like this Amish kind of family in the middle of the woods. So she goes there with her boyfriend and friend or something like that. And it's all being filmed on camera. She's gonna do this like documentary on finding her real family. And then obviously the family's kind of creepy. There's creepy things going on, paranormal, you know, it gets crazy towards the end. I feel like it was a pretty entertaining horror movie, pretty wild, but also I feel like the characters are so dumb. Like, why are you shoving a camera in these people's face who like don't want technology? It's like you're kind of asking for something to go down. But no, I think it, you know, is a pretty fun movie if you want a little horror movie vibe. Then I also watched Decision to Leave. This is a Korean drama thriller. I actually watched it in the theater. This is probably the only one I've watched in the theater of all these, so that was a good experience. We're following this detective who takes on this case of this man who fell off of a mountain and died. They start to suspect that it's his wife that killed him because she's a very young girl. She's an immigrant. It just seems like a situation where maybe she killed him to get away from him kind of thing. So he starts suspecting her, but then she manages to like convince him that she is innocent. They kind of develop this this sweet little relationship, but he's married, so that's not okay. Anyways, it seemed like more of a thrillery thing, and then it did end up becoming more of a romance, but I did quite like it. There were some parts where it started to drag on towards the end, but it was a pretty good movie if you want a new Korean drama to check out. My favorite movie of the last couple months, I wouldn't have thought it would be this, to be honest, but I did have a really good time with this one, and that was Rosaline on Disney Plus. I'm pretty sure it's Rosaline, not Rosaline. And basically, this is a really fun twist on Romeo and Juliet. And I historically hate Romeo and Juliet and like hate Romeo and Juliet retellings, but this did a really fun take on it where we're following Rosaline, which is Romeo's ex that he kind of dumps in the beginning of Romeo and Juliet for Juliet, because he's a dumb boy and he just like chases after the next new thing. So we're seeing her perspective and how she's trying to win Romeo back and to kind of sabotage the relationship between Romeo and Juliet. And it's a comedic movie if you didn't get that. And I really liked the real romance in this between Rosaline and another character. Really loved him. It's a great fun movie, and if you want a rom-com that's a little bit different, not your typical rom-com as it is kind of like historical, yeah, I would really recommend this. Now to get into the TV shows. So again, let's go from worst to best. We have Unsolved Mysteries Volume 3. I normally liked this series, but something about this most recent season I just didn't love. I feel like in the previous seasons there was like one episode that didn't work for me per season, and it would be like the paranormal, the UFO one. I just don't get into that stuff. I prefer like an actual real murder mystery, and I feel like there were multiple of those types of episodes in this season, and I'm not one to skip episodes. Like, it stresses me out if I miss episodes in shows. I'm just kind of like that, like a completionist and stuff, but I couldn't watch those episodes. I straight up skipped them. So yeah, that was definitely a disappointment. I'm also currently watching Titans season 3. I have not finished this show yet. I'm like halfway through the season, but it's definitely feeling like the worst season right now. I don't love the show normally, but I still normally like it better than this season. If you don't know, it follows a bunch of superheroes, but I just feel like they never do superhero things. Like, they never actually save people. I just feel like they cause more issues and they just have like their own drama going on. And in this season, they're just really making it a Batman season, and they're focusing on Batman villains and Batman characters, and I feel like our main characters are not getting to shine. A lot of them have been written off or killed, which I'm very upset about. A lot of my favorite characters have been sidelined. So yeah, this season is just not really working for me. Hopefully season 4 will be better. I also watched the final season of Dead to Me season 3, and unfortunately I was let down by this show. It's another one of those like cozy murder mystery shows where there's a lot of like killing and murder in the show, but it's like comedic, and it starts out with these two women who become friends, and then they find out that the one woman like killed the other woman's husband. So that's where like the murdery stuff happens, but it's very, very funny. Like, the two main actresses are great together. Unfortunately, in this season, I know one of the actresses is having some health issues, which may be like related to some of the issues that they had in creating this season, but it just felt like they didn't have a plot that they were working with. It felt like a lot of filler, and sometimes the script was just so weird. I'm like, are these actors just like ad-libbing it? Like, why does it feel so awkward? And I just feel like the episodes could have benefited from being like 20 minutes, or maybe like there being less episodes in the season, because I just don't feel like they had the content for this season, unfortunately. It, however, did really make me cry at the end. It does definitely pull on your heartstrings because of that friendship element that's in it. It's a huge part of it. I just wish the one woman like cared about her kids as much as she cared about her friend. I also watched the latest season of Survivor. I think it was season 43. Again, we have a bit of a miss here. Normally Survivor is like one of my favorite shows. It's so fun to watch. But this season, didn't really love it. It started out where it was like all the women were getting voted off, and I just did not like to see that, to be honest. And then I felt like the editing was really weird. The editors were trying to trick you, and I feel like they were just putting in clips to make you think something so that they could trick you and do something else. And it's like, I just want to see what happened. Like, please don't edit it in this weird way where I'm not even fully getting to grasp what's going on this island. And then I was really disappointed with who the winner was. I was shocked and I was so mad. So hopefully next season's better. I also watched the third season of The Floor is Lava. This is like a really random show that's kind of like Wipeout, where it's these people who are trying to get across this like obstacle course, but it's full of lava. So it's like that kids game of like, you can't touch the ground or you're in lava. I purely binged this show with my boyfriend while we are intoxicated, and that's definitely how I would recommend watching it. It's sort of like a little tradition for us to do, and honestly it's just like a fun, silly time. You can binge all the episodes in like one sitting. It's entertaining. I also watched The Mole. Speaking of entertaining, this is another reality show that is very, very bingeable. The way they edit it with the cliffhangers, like, I just could not. I had to keep watching. But it is about this group of people, and they are in this competition to win money. And so they do certain challenges to earn money for their pot. But one member of the group is the mole, who is trying to sabotage them. Us as the viewers don't know who it is either. All of the people in the competition are trying to act like they are not the mole, because the point is for those players to guess who the mole is. And that gets them closer to the finale. Anyways, it was really entertaining to watch and to try and figure out who the mole is. Unfortunately, I did figure out who the mole was probably halfway through the season, and once I really was like sure of it, it definitely made it not as entertaining to watch, but it still was pretty good, and I look forward to future seasons of this as well. I also watched the show Normal People, which is based on the book by Sally Rooney, which I also read and really liked. And I have to say, I really did enjoy watching this adaptation, definitely more than I did for Conversations with Friends, which I watched a few months ago. Basically, this is just about a relationship between these two people, Marianne and Connell, throughout the end of high school and into college. It's about their kind of codependent relationship and very like angsty relationship. They have so many different issues involving like mental health, involving each of their classes and all this types of stuff, but it is very entertaining to watch, and I really like the main actor in this show as well. Another crush. I thought he was very cute, and I also really just liked how he played the character, because Connell is the character that I related to more, and so I really enjoyed seeing his portrayal of his anxiety and mental health issues as well. But yeah, very much liked this. I also finished off Love is Blind season 3, which I might have talked about in my last episode of what I watched or whatever. I feel like it's been so long since the end of this season that I don't even know if I want to talk about this, but I'll just say I could see from Cole and Zanab's side throughout most of the show. Like, I thought he was too immature and also said a lot of things he shouldn't, but I also felt like she was being kind of cold to him and all that kind of stuff. By the after show, I was definitely going to be more on Team Cole's side. It just really seemed like Zanab was lying, and like it was her own issues coming out, that she was, you know, she has her own insecurities that were just getting triggered. And then the cuties scene, I was like, oh my gosh, like that was not even bad at all on Cole's part. But of course, with all the drama and stuff that's come out after the show, I really don't know what to believe. I don't think I'm on either side of this situation. I don't trust either of them. Now, my top 2 shows I really enjoyed. First of all, we have the Vampire Academy series, and I don't think it's been renewed yet for season 2, so I'm kind of sad, but I really loved this show. I read these books back in high school, so I know the story, but I don't have it, super fresh in my mind or anything. But it was made by the producer of Vampire Diaries, which is one of my favorite shows. So it's not a surprise that I love this. Basically, it's about this world that has vampires, but there's a very specific mythology for these vampires. There's ones that are called Moroi, and they're kind of like the royal vampires who need to be protected, and they're the ones who rule the world. There's a monarchy, there's a queen, and they also have these elemental powers, so fire, earth, air, all that. Then there's the Dompiers, I think they pronounce it, and they're the warrior ones. So they basically just fight and train to be guardians to protect the Moroi. Then there are these things called Strigoi, and those are the evil vampires that have been infected with something. They're basically zombie vampires. So there's a whole interesting world, and I feel like the show did a really good job of adapting this world and the mythology. The characters, they also did a pretty good job. Our main 2 characters were following these 2 best friends. One is a Moroi, one's a Dompier, and I think both of those ladies did an excellent job. I think they did really good with the characters, maybe even made me like the characters more. One of the love interests, Dimitri, I really liked him definitely a lot more than the movie version and more than the book version, because I didn't even like him in the book, but I really ship him and Rose in the show, which is great to see, and he's very cute. Unfortunately, there were a couple of my favorite characters that I don't think translated the way I would have liked them to. For example, Christian, which is Lissa's love interest. I like the actor and everything, but he's just not my Christian. I pictured him to be more emo, more angry, whereas in the show he's just a really nice guy. Also, they decided to introduce Adrian, who's another one of my favorite characters and a love interest for Rose. They decided to put him in the show earlier than he's supposed to come in the book series, and I did not like the actor they picked for him. I do think the actor's cute, but he was giving douchey frat bro vibes, and that is not Adrian to me. Adrian's the older, sophisticated, sexy guy. I pictured tall, dark, and handsome, not blonde and baby faced. It was just not the casting for me. So that was the one thing I was disappointed in. But other than that, thought it was super entertaining, had those Vampire Diaries vibes with the plot twist and the darkness. Definitely watch it if you haven't already. And finally, we have Stargirl season 3, and unfortunately the final season, it got canceled, I think mostly due to the stuff going on with the CW, which is where it was playing on. This is a superhero show, and it's the best superhero show I've ever seen. I love it so much. We're following our main character, Courtney, and she ends up finding this staff which used to belong to Starman, and so then she becomes Stargirl. She gets her little friends to join in to create the Justice Society of America, the new version. I just love that this show is so grounded in family and friendships. I feel so many other superhero shows go off the rails. It's all crazy, but I just think this one was so good, so funny, so wholesome, just perfection. And I'm so sad that it had to end so soon. They did some cool stuff at the end to wrap it all up. I think they're gonna make an appearance in something else, these characters. I think they're gonna appear in Titans or something like that. I really look forward to that, but it's very sad to see this show end. I was crying. I just love these characters and love these actors so much. So if you want a good superhero show, I'd recommend that one. I think that's gonna end my final what I watched recently. Definitely leave me a comment. Let me know if you've watched any of these things or if you have any recommendations for me. Please subscribe if you have not already, especially if you want more bookish videos, because that's what I'll be making more videos about. But yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.